world literature now is about thinking about how the world is structured economically, socially, culturally in different ways, how the modes of cultural exchange can be tracked somehow by looking at literatures from different places alongside each other, by comparing different voices and different languages.
World literature is used, as Veronica suggests before, as a catch-all for literature that goes across cultures and across languages. A good way of putting this down to a definition could be literature which is related to worldly matters. So a literature that encapsulates the very idea of being within a certain type of system, which includes circulation, distribution of literature, but also translation.
World literature and the use of world literary theory is inherently interdisciplinary. So it can be useful on the one hand to gain a kind of broader perspective across literary and cultural borders, but also I think it intersects interestingly with other disciplines. So it draws on ideas from post-colonial studies, for example, hybridity, cosmopolitanism, materialist analysis of text, not just fictional texts, but non-fictional texts as well, and looking at the political and economic implications and modes of production of those texts. It can also be useful for historians thinking about how texts travel across times, across borders, between cultures and so on, and how they change, how they're transformed. And the other thing that Letizia mentioned about language is primary and world literature studies, so it can be really useful, I think, for students of comparative literature or translation studies to have to think theoretically about why and how we compare different texts in different languages, in different translations, what kind of agendas are behind the production of these texts.
So he defines world literature as a literature that is an elliptic refraction of national literature, and by this he means that there is a national component in world literature that should not be underestimated, but that at the same time that should discourage national literature separatism, for instance. So that should discourage us from thinking of literature as this compartmentalized discipline. We're aiming at having postgraduate research scholars from a number of subjects. That could be English or anthropology or Middle Eastern studies, Latin American studies. And I think what we were encouraging them to do is to look at what is strange, what is not familiar. We're encouraging this sort of approach towards defamiliarization, towards cultural difference, that is interesting and in a certain sense enabling for a reading of world literary text. So an approach that again it's non-normative and hegemony critical above all.